Welcome back to the Dungeon Master's Block, the place where we come to talk about the Dungeon Master, the most important person in the game. With every conversation, we hope to inspire as many as possible to keep on dungeon mastering.
And I'm one of your hosts, DM Derek.
And I'm your other host, DM Neal, aka Jote Maniac. And today we will be talking about learning new systems. And I'm going to say it in the episode, but we're going to say it again right now. Huge shout out to the Discord, because I asked, what would you want us to talk about for this episode? And you responded. And that made me feel really good. And it makes it so much easier to make this episode because we knew exactly what you wanted to hear about. So let's keep doing that a whole bunch, which you also did already on another episode that's coming up. So if you're not already in the Discord, you should go to bit.ly/DMBanter.
DM Banter, that's DMBANTER. What are some of the fun things that they can find on the DM Banter Discord server, Neal?
So we have been doing some monthly mapping that was there. The gymnastics exercises have been moved over because Discord, in their infinite wisdom, added basically a forum style option inside of Discord where the threads don't just instantly disappear or go hidden and then you can revive them. But those are there as well. And basically every time an episode posts, it automatically gets notified in the Discord. And of course, this is where we're asking what people want to hear for episodes we have coming up.
Amazing. We also have a section of creative rooms where you can show people the homebrew you're working on, spells that you're working on, or if you're just looking for general inspiration, head on over to Inspiration Station.
Inspiration Station is if you want to creep your players out, do anything involving Thomas the Tank Engine. Real creepy.
It's like that Skyrim mod where the dragons are Thomas. Yeah, yeah.
The other Skyrim mod is where all the dragons are Macho Man Randy Savage, but they didn't change the skeletal structure. So just his body on it. And so instead of that, you just hear, oh yeah, and then he just comes flying in.
Wait, I have to see this. I'm sure it's incredibly cursed.
It is. It's life-changing and not in the best way.
Oh no. Oh, that is terrible.
Oh, good. I'm glad I got to share that with the world.
Don't Google that on your work computer, people.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's not that bad, but it is weird.
I apologize. But the other fun thing we're doing is we are currently working on better integration between Patreon and the Discord. So that is on its way, as well as some basic and probably more in-depth renovations to said Patreon. But when we have more about that, we'll let you know.
It's the summer block party, Neal. There's a lot of change happening, but we're excited for it. As part of this revamping of Discord, we're going to try something new, and we want to know if you are interested in it, and if so, what you are most interested in. Neal and I have been talking. We've decided we want to try out some office hours for our patrons, kind of like a monthly hangout where you can come chat with us, ask us questions about running games, ask us questions about our own games, ask us our hot takes about TV shows and movies, and whatever else is on your mind. So if you want to engage in that, if you're interested in that, pop into the Discord. You can find us on the General Banter channel, add us, and tell us what you're most interested in these office hours, if that sounds fun to you. So yeah, we're going to open those up the first round to anybody. And then after that, if we get a lot of positive engagement, then we'll probably put it on like the Patreon, probably the lowest tier, but just to give you all a chance to ask us questions live, in kind of a stream format, and then see our live answers, which would be a lot of fun.
And then as soon as we have some dates and times for that, we will let you know. And if it goes well, it'll be something we kind of move around to try and accommodate as many people as possible.
Yeah. Work schedules and holidays, etc. Pending.
But as an attempt to accommodate as many people as possible, today's episode we'll be talking all about introducing and learning new systems, and Lewanika and I will be talking all about that. And it's a really good conversation where we also talk about karaoke a bunch, but that's okay. It's very fun. But it's a good conversation about how you can introduce your players as well as yourself to new systems.
I think the karaoke conversation can be forgiven because anybody who has been to a catacon knows how legendary the karaoke nights are.
It's true. But with that, let's head to the meat.
I'm starving. We ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
Why can't we have some meats?
The flat meat's back on the menu, boys.
So today for the meat, we have I say they're all special guests, but this one's extra special. I'm excited. This took much longer than it should have. And we're both culpable in that fact. But Lewanika, family man, one of the hosts of Tabletop Journeys, writer, singer, karaoke. We can talk about that in a minute. Tabletop gamer, freelance writer, and as of February, the title of Pro GM, and you wear it well, I am sure. Lewanika, thanks for coming on.
Hey, man. Neal, it's been, like you said, we're both culpable. What, two plus years in the making to get to this here very point? Craziness. But, the only thing I can say about that is this. The fact that it took us 2 years has been 2 years of us building the friendship stronger to make this moment even more special than it would have been if we had done it when we first talked about it. So I'm going to take that as a win, brother. I'm going to take that as a win.
I like it. There are not too many people that have heard me do karaoke. It's not really my thing, but it is yours. And you motivated me to do a very special rendition of a song. You know what? I think I'll save a little more of that for later, but I do want to jump right into our interview section because I want listeners to know more about you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself that you think our listeners would love to hear?
Yeah, so I'm a short guy. No, I like walks on the beach. I'm a fiend for a mojito. And if you dig Miami Vice, you get that joke. But no, on a serious note, I am a creative person, or I think of myself as a creative person. I've been writing stories since I was a child. As long as I can remember, anytime I've ever watched a television show that ended, and all the good television shows always end too early, I have written something for the next season or the next 2 seasons or carried that story forward. Every time I have heard of a fantastic myth, whether it be from the Greco-Roman times or more modern myths like Johnny Appleseed or Pecos Bill, I've written things to carry that forward. At some point, I found comic books, which are nothing more than modern myths, and I wrote things to carry those forward. At some point, I came into gaming. It crossed my path, and I realized this was a way to consistently carry stories forward. Whether I'm mirroring some tale that I saw elsewhere or modeling a brand new character in the style of some classic hero that I love. Gaming was just a way for me to carry stories forward. And that's just what I've been doing for as long as I can remember doing it. I eventually I was writing, like I said, all along. I did poetry in high school and more creative writing projects. When I graduated high school, I scripted a couple local comics for some artists that I knew when I owned my own comic book store. And then life in college happened. And even though I went to school as an English major, I really stopped writing for years. But I did continue to play RPGs. And eventually my writing was almost exclusively for RPGs or live action games. But nothing to be published, nothing professionally, just for my friend group or my extended friend groups. And at some point, my buddy Josh said, why don't we do a podcast? I mean, we talk all the time. Like, we've annoyed every friend we have by getting into these gaming conversations when we're sitting on their couch at some party here, there, everywhere, or one of the party places we refer to as the center of the universe or whatever. And, let's do this thing. It was COVID, as one does. We made a podcast. 6 years later, I'm knocking on your door like, hey, can I talk?
It's the way to go. You're like, look, everyone I currently know is tired of me talking. I'd like to find people I don't know that are not yet tired of me talking.
Yeah. Look, there's probably a 10 to 12 year over under. So I've got our existing audience about 6 years, which means That's why I'm talking to you. I can get a new audience to pick up right now, and then I'll have them for 12 years. The key is keep turning over that audience every 12 years.
Yep.
That way, one, I don't repeat myself, or I don't sound like I'm repeating myself, but at least we keep people smiling, having fun, and being creative.
Heck yeah. Which leads me immediately to, is there anything that you're currently working on? And of course, that you can talk about. I don't want to mess up any of those NDAs or anything if you got them.
So the beauty is, unless I'm doing freelance work, generally speaking, I don't have to worry too much about NDAs. And I say that because I'm the co-owner of the company. So the only person that's going to bust me is me.
This does give me the opportunity to continue to shout out all the work that I did with MCDM, because they just don't have an NDA. So like, that's cool. I never felt scared, because I definitely have felt scared in other times of like, should I have said that? Can I say that? Just don't bring it up. Just never bring it up. But with them, it was literally, because James Introcaso has been a friend and podcaster for a long, long time.
Oh, he's a great guy. He is so cool.
The funniest reason for not having an NDA was literally, there's no point. Matt Colville will go tell the world the second he's done talking to us. He's probably on a live stream talking about it. So we realized an NDA is just pointless. So yeah, they never had any.
Yeah.
Because the stuff I wrote isn't even out, but I can tell you I can tell you everything about it. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk to you. So yeah, are you working on any books currently?
Yeah, years ago we worked on this one, the Dragonlance Compendium for. My camera's going to be weird on that, but I'll definitely send you some stills. Nice. But this particular book was published by Splinterverse Media. We answered an all call where they basically said, "Hey, pitch us adventures or whatever. We're looking for some adventures." And Josh, myself, we submitted some adventure ideas. Glenn was with us at the time. He submitted an adventure idea. The idea I submitted was the one that was selected. We were told that of all the ideas that were submitted in that all call, mine was the only one that got a unanimous upvote from everybody on the panel. So as a creator who, like many of us, suffers from a little bit of imposter syndrome, that was one of those things that says, hey, I might be half good at this thing. That said, it wasn't all me that did this. That adventure, which went really, really well, is something that all three of us worked really hard to make a good product. That was one of our first big publishing bits from a freelance level. We've done a few other things here or there. I've done some freelance editing and proofreading and stuff like that as well. But that's one of the works I'm most proud of. It was a very personal story that's in that adventure that speaks a lot to elements of my life and my family that I love. And so that was a really good one that I liked. And it came at a time when, podcasting is tough to keep on the lights. That was a good boost.
Nice.
That was a good boost to keep on the lights so we could keep doing some other stuff, gave us the energy to do some of our other creative works. Right now, we actually just published last fall, we published the Traveler's Guide to Factions. A nice, big, thick, 180 some odd pages there, 9 separate factions. Way Tabletop Journeys likes to do things. We all had a hand in coming up with those, working on those. That was almost 2.5 years of work to get that done. When it was all said and done, we realized that as great as that was, we needed something to feature them. So we did this book, which was kickstarted and funded in under 6 hours. Is January 1st of this year. It is at the printers now. We're going to be shipping it out to backers. The Bridgewell Chronicles, Part 1. This is 9 separate first level adventures. They're basically one-pagers, one adventure for each of the 9 factions. So it features the 9 factions. So not only do you have a nice book to talk about the factions, teach you how they work, give you all the little details. Now there's an adventure so your players can start and see what they're all about. And by the time they get to second or third level, if they want to join one of the factions, you've got an adventure to kind of get them there. It's kind of like our start to what could be a campaign. We were talking pre-show about campaigning and stuff like that and how to do that with groups. So I did almost 2 years of playtesting with these adventures. And I had a lot of people who really liked them and wanted to see, wanted more and more. So I wanted to see if they could be done as a campaign. So last November, I started running a campaign with those adventures. And lo and behold, I have a group that's currently about 14 people deep that come and go. I only do 6 people at a session and roughly 1 to 2 sessions a month. And we've started doing this campaign style. That has led to your question. Anything we're working on? Why, yes. We are currently working on the second level adventures that follow Bridgewell Chronicles 1. And I can give you a little heads up. The working title for these will be Secrets of Bridgewell. And as opposed to the level ones, which are 1 faction per adventure, each of these will feature 2 factions per adventure.
Nice. Heck yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So are you approaching it? Well, okay. I'm going to get too into the weeds. I will ask what I hope is a simple question, and then I'll move us to a third interview question. But so with the 14, are you doing more of like a West March style then? Like who's there is there? Like once 6 say yes, then the 7th one needs to pack sand. What are we talking?
That's pretty much how it works. Yeah. I describe
it
to the folks who go as a West Marches style. Correction, a TTJ West Marches style campaign. So generally what I do is I figure out what days I'm going to be running it, and then I post those up. I have 6 slots, and then I have a Facebook group where I go to the folks and anybody who's there, they all make their own characters. So unlike playing with me at a convention or someplace else where you use exclusively pre-gens, in this case, I set something up in D&D Beyond. I gave everybody the same parameters and they all build their characters. And the way we worked it is 4 adventures out of the Bridgewell Chronicles is 1 level. 4 more, you finish second level. Then that brings us to the second level adventures, which we're now play testing, and we're writing for publication. So those are going to be larger. Like these are all 1-pagers. Those are going to be larger adventures. We don't know the actual page count right now. We've had some meetings about the total page count, but we know about our encounter structure and amount of encounters that we're going to do. So these will be 2 second level adventures, and you go to 3rd. So there's going to be less of them because the 9 will condense down because there's 2 per, and that's what we're working on. So we've got like one of those is actually pretty close to being done. We should actually have first draft on that completed by end of this month. The other one should be within a week or 2 after that. And then we have to work on the other. So those are going to come out more staggered. They won't come out all at once.
Heck yeah. And then we got to wait for part 3 after the success of part 2. Obviously we'll wait for part 3.
I'll give you a hint. I actually play tested and have completely written, one of the 3 third level adventures before we did the second or the first. Like we did the 3rd level adventure and I said, you know what? I don't want to start with 3. Let's do this our way. So we're building the whole campaign world up. So
Danger at Bridgewell.
I'm not going to give you that one yet.
Okay.
That one's good. Like I will say
that's my contribution. Danger at Bridgewell.
Okay. I will say this though. If you have followed me in New England and at a Catacon, because I've run that 3rd level adventure at each of those.
Oh, nice.
If you look at all my adventures, all you have to do is go back to tabletop events and see what adventures I've worked on, or I've ran. You'll figure it out. But yeah, the 3rd level one is there.
Nice.
As with the 6th level and a 5th level, I've actually run those. We've actually run all of those as well.
Nice.
We're always creating.
Yeah, that'll be further down the line. Speaking of creating and memories for this one, your surprise question is, what is your favorite song to do during karaoke?
Oh, that is not a surprise question. That's an evil question.
I know.
You stumped me.
You know what? No, you know what though? Okay, let's frame it better, because let's say you and I are scrolling through. What's your vibe right now? Like you're thinking, like you're on the spot right now. Like what is the karaoke song you want to sing right now? That way it doesn't have to be the best of all time, the favorite of all time. Like what's your vibe right this moment? I'm singing karaoke. What did I pick?
Ooh, today?
Mm-hmm.
The earworm I had in my head today was Jesus Jones Right Here, Right Now. And I don't sing that song karaoke ever because his voice is a little higher than I usually do. But that's the earworm I've had today. And I don't know why specifically that song. It was either that or Chumbawamba Get Knocked Down, which I hate singing that song karaoke, but at least I can sing that one karaoke. Honestly, I have a couple favorites and it less depends on the mood I'm in and more depends on the mood the bar I'm in or the location I'm in is in. Right. So yeah. I'm that kind of person. I like to think of it the way the Blues Brothers did in Blues Brothers 2000, where they just where the whole band shows up and they realize like, man, this is a country bar. And they got the cage and people are throwing glass. Yeah. And he's like, riders. Like I have a song for every kind of bar there is. Right. Yeah. So I remember going into a place, it was all country down. And then I just busted out with, Georgia Satellites and people are like, he can sing that, and I'm like, I got a little change in my pocket going jangle, langle, lang, and just have at it. I've gone into a bar and just kind of felt the vibe and I'm like, okay. And I busted out some Muddy Waters. It's like, to me, it's about the mood. The last time we were doing karaoke, our boy there from SoCal, he was going, I'm like, I gotta do POD now. Right. Yeah. It's like, I felt that in my soul. So it was like just one of those things where it really depends on what's happening and what the mood of the crowd is. I'm the kind of person who grew up around a lot of DJs. And for me, it's about the segue. Like I can't stand when, if we're doing ballads and all that, and then somebody jumps up with some pop song, that's weird to me. You can transition. There's a couple songs you can do transition. And I will have a sense where, okay, I'm going to move us out of this mood because there might be a song I want to do. So I'm like, okay, so we're doing somewhat ballads, but I'm going to do something that's a little bit more pick-uppy. I might do some other things, but like you just don't throw out Firewoman after someone did Bette Midler's The Rose. That doesn't work for me. Yeah. And both songs are amazing. And truth is, I only did one of those in chorus. I'll let you decide which.
Nice. And as always, I need to answer my own question because I asked it and the answer for me. And that is my hilarious PSA rendition of Tequila, where I just do a spoken word the entire time and try to time perfectly in that spoken word PSA, the word tequila. Basically the PSA is don't do that. Don't drink that.
Yeah. Yeah. But while you're doing it, who's doing the whole Pee-wee dance the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
Because I got you.
Yep. Fantastic. But that brings us to the topic at hand. And we're actually I'm going to start at a place I haven't really started most of our episodes before. Huge shout out to the DMB Discord because I tossed out just in general, hey, this is the topic we're going to talk about. Oh my, people had questions and thoughts. So we got a lot to work with, which is great because that shout out dear Discord people. And if you want to join the Discord, bit.ly/DM banter, like DMB ANTER, because you all just made this whole episode so much easier for us because we know exactly what you'd like to hear. So if you want to keep doing that, I will love that you keep doing it. I am over the moon right now with how many responses we got. But before we jump in, the topic at hand is teaching and learning new systems. But what I always do, because again, the podcast itself is long in the tooth. So what I like to do is I like to ask the question of what drew you to this topic as what you wanted to talk about? Because I feel like that's always a great place to frame the conversation.
Yeah. Teaching systems for me is, and learning new systems because it's a challenge for me. Anybody who listens or watches Tabletop Journeys on YouTube or our various channels will tell you, because I talk about it a lot because I think it's important to talk about these things. I have an ADHD addled brain, right? And I find learning new systems to be difficult and for interesting reasons. It's less because I don't want to learn them. It's more because it's hard for me to visualize how something works until I see it in use. I'm the kind of person who learns things by doing, not by reading, even though I learn things by reading, which is weird. But a new process is hard versus just reading a book and understanding lore. So I can read a new game and learn all the lore, but as far as how it works at the table, to feel comfortable enough to like really let my RP fly, that's something that takes me a little bit of time. I have traditionally had a couple great crutches when it comes to learning new systems. I have some friends who are really good at learning new systems, and I don't get to game with them as much anymore. So when I want to learn a new system, I got to figure it out. So for me, I just want to learn from as many people as possible what it takes to pick up new systems a little bit more quickly than I currently do, so I can just get better at it. Because I enjoy almost every game I've ever played, I've enjoyed. I kind of disconnect when I pick up a new book or a new game and figure out how that works. Even if it looks cool, even if I'm all in, sometimes the mechanics can be a bit of a challenge for me.
Yeah, and this is going to harken back to something you brought up a little bit earlier. With as much time as we took to get here, because of that, friendship is a little stronger. I could play a little bit more inside baseball than I would with some other guests. So one of the things is like I typically don't answer like I did with the surprise question. Obviously, I'm going to answer the surprise question because like that's the joy of that question. But typically, I don't answer this question as well because when the long and the short of it is like, anybody can offer a topic up. And obviously I could be like, oh no, I don't think that, that doesn't fit in the schedule. That's something we've approached before, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So I always can answer this question. And because it's you, I'm willing to answer this question. Where, like I said, typically I wouldn't. But one of the big reasons that I was drawn to this topic when you brought it up was because there's a lot of times that I'm realizing some of the stuff we talk about on the podcast is the show portion of show and tell isn't done all the time. Like sometimes we'll say something, but then not given the actionable steps of like, that's how you would do it. So oftentimes like a big piece of advice that I give is, experiencing new systems and doing that. Okay. But yeah, cool. Great job, Neal. Now what do I do?
Yeah. How do I do that? Where do I go? Lead the way, oh master of the primrose path.
Yeah. So that's what really drew me to this conversation was then that this conversation can be some of those more actionable steps to actually go about doing that rather than just saying, hey, this is a really cool thing. Be free. Go into the world. So I'll actually just kick it off with what I think is like the one that got like the most. It has quite a few 100% on it. So, and it was like the first comment that jumped on when I asked about it. And it is a username I have not gotten to say in a long time. And I'm very excited to say it again. But this one comes to us from Onesie Knight, who I assume is just battling the world at large, in a onesie, which is a great visual to me.
With the buttons in the back? Yes.
Oh yeah. Of course.
All in.
Yeah, and definitely some kind of hood.
And a hood of some kind, maybe some horns. Yeah.
One of their biggest hurdles that they bring up is it's all well and good. Let's say you or me are 100% buy-in. How are we convincing the players to go into it? Like you have a person who's just staunch D&D and I refuse, or is it trepidation across the board? Is it, they feel like they're pulling teeth trying to convince other people, tips and tricks on like convincing the masses to try out a new system.
Yeah. So I love examples. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some relatively new games that I have found ways to bring in more people.
Mm-hmm.
One of those is Star Trek Adventures. You see me play at a Catacon and I get more and more folks, every year I play that game at any given con. I get more people. This past year, starting at a Catacon, I've been approached by people who are like, I really tried to get into your game, but it sold out before I could get started. I did one convention earlier this year. I had 2 separate tables, so 12 total seats for Star Trek Adventures. And that particular convention, it didn't even make it out of early bird seat purchases. And at a certain point, I can't do much more because I also have to do the different things for Tabletop Journeys and a few other things as well. And I want to play other systems. So the thing that I would say is the number one thing is go to conventions, and they don't have to be big Gen Con giant conventions. Go to conventions that are more regional. I'm talking a Catacon. I'm talking, if you're on the East Coast, I'm talking Captain Con, Total Con, Rising Phoenix, Open Gaming Con, Katahdin Con, Shire Con. Those are just some of the ones I go to. Drinking and Dragons is a charity convention. It's generally a one session, happens 3 times a year. Go to as many of those as possible. If you're a GM running and want to run these alternate systems, run that system. You don't have to run it the whole weekend. Run one session because people will show up. When I was at a Catacon last year, a game I had bought 2 years before had 3 or 4 sessions. Unfortunately, I was running at the same time, so I didn't get to play. But at the end of one of my days, they were still playing that game for another 2.5 hours, and they let me sit in on that game. And I got to play a game that I own at home, and I got to have a great conversation with the makers of that game and their organized play group as well, simply because they were running it at a convention. So my number one advice, if you're a GM who's into a game, if your home group doesn't want to play it, go to a convention. You know, sometimes your local game store, but that is the same as your home group generally. So that may or may not work depending on how many people and how well that game store advertises alternate systems and things like that. So your mileage may vary at local game stores. I would definitely try, but just be aware that it may not be as good. But if you go to a convention, there will always be people who do not want to play D&D Pathfinder. You'll get people. Maybe not the first year. Maybe it doesn't always fire. I've had, for this game I just spoke about, Star Trek Adventures, for Everyday Heroes, and a couple other odd games that I'll do from time to time, I've had the first years I went to any of those conventions, I had at least one session that didn't fire. And that's okay. The next year, all of my games fired. The year that followed, all of my tables were filled. This current year, this current cycle I'm in, not only were they filled, I got people saying, you need to do more because I couldn't get in. Time and consistency will get you there.
So I love this piece of advice, and I think I'm going to just layer a couple layers onto it. Because one of the things you have to think about is it's a pitch. Like at the end of the day, you're trying to pitch your players on this idea. And if you've never played it yourself, because that's a reality that could be true, is that if you have not yet played it yourself, you're pitching almost secondhand. That's tough. That's a tougher sell. But if you have FLGS that's going to run something that's not that, but it's the thing you want. If it's, because one of the things came up was Savage Worlds, or if it's, so I can also just run through the things that I've, learned and ran as well. Like I've run Fate, I've run Masks, which broke my brain. Because you're the game runner. As a game runner, you're not rolling dice. And I was just like, bah! The whole time. Until I eventually accepted. I know, me too.
It's fun. I had a blast.
Oh,
but
it was
it's
so
weird.
Oh, so good. But my DM brain was just shattering, because I wasn't rolling dice, but that's how that works. And so let's say it's Masks. I'm super familiar with that one. So that's a very easy conversation for me to have with Masks and the playbooks and everything like that. But the other thing is, so you have an FLGS, you likely have a local con, you have a con that's farther away. The other thing that's super nice is you have the internet. Go on to Start Playing. Go on to one of the many sites that run games that aren't D&D and just experience it. Look, at the end of the day, what you are trying to accomplish is a familiarity that allows you to have those more in-depth conversations to convince the players that it is something that they will enjoy. And so that's my biggest piece of advice. The other thing I think of is for the most part, I would like to hope that you have at least one player that is that player, that is the buy-in player, that is I absolutely would love to do that, and bring them, do whatever it takes to bring them along. Did you take them to the con? Did you pay for their spot at Start Playing? Did you take them to the FLGS? But having a second person that also has firsthand experience now of the system is going to go leaps and bounds in the process of having that conversation with the rest of the table to say, hey, this would be really fun.
That last bit, bringing somebody with you and perhaps even covering them to, paying the price of admission so that so that's not a hurdle for them, is worth it. At the last 2 of my pro GM gigs, there was at least one player whose ticket was purchased by one of the other players, and it was for the purpose of them getting to know the game so that they could start a home game later. That's very frequent at the types of events that I professional GM in person at. And I think doing one-shots at conventions and at Start Playing or other types of platforms is absolutely one of the places to go. There's a bunch of people who will argue and complain about, oh, I don't want to pay for a game or whatever. But honestly, you're asking somebody to play a game, which means they may have to go and buy $60, $70, $120, $130 worth of materials. At least if you're going to start playing 25, 15, 20, 25 bucks to see if it's worth, you're not paying any more than you pay if you went to the movies. So I think that's a pretty low buy-in to try something brand new.
Yeah. The other thing that's nice with all of that is that it could also be the reason you don't decide that it's something you want to present to the rest of the table, because you figure out through play that it's actually not the thing that you thought it was. That's the other really difficult thing, is that you could all invest all this time only to find out that the game doesn't fit the role that you think it does. It doesn't play the way that you think it does. It isn't what you wanted. But having played through it, and whatever. We're going to shout out MCDM another time to just illustrate play being one of the best ways to learn. That is the way that they onboard their freelance writers, is by having their lead playtester run a game for someone that has not yet written for them. And it literally changed everything about how I would write for them. Because I then experienced exactly what that game is supposed to be doing and what the goals are for the players, how it feels when it's played, because it's their lead playtester. He's going to run it in a way that probably, there's a chance he has run more games of Draw Steel than maybe anybody else. Yeah. And so you're going to get the full experience. And through that play, like I said, it reframed how I would write rewards, not for D&D, but for Draw Steel, because it's not the same, because it's not the same game. So just a further illustration of actual play of the game is going to be the number one piece of advice. From here, we can kind of get into I would think more of the nuance things that I would throw out to people. The biggest thing I think all of this kind of leads to another point, is you need to take the lion's share of this lift. It just is what it is. If you are really trying to convince a table of people to start a new system, you as the game runner have to take that on. You have to, you have to shoulder that load. You may get lucky, and there may be somebody that's experienced in the game or has played it before or is a huge champion for it. But at the end of the day, I think that's just a thing to keep in mind, is that it's going to be part of it. You're going to have to take the lion's share of that to bring everyone along.
I would also say the other thing is stick to one-shots. Don't try to convince people to get into a year-long commitment to some new thing that they don't even know. Who's going to commit to something for a year or more that they've only met? Most of the world does not do 90 Day for Life or whatever that garbage show is, right?
Oh yeah.
Most people want to court someone for a while, but the idea is you want to get to know the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life or for the near and foreseeable future. You just don't make that jump in off the rip. I'm going to do this forever. I've never met you. I don't know what you look like. I don't even know what your eating habits are. I'm just going to do this forever. No, you're going to figure it out. You're going to do something. It'll be not just the session 0, first date. It's not just the first couple sessions. You're going to go on a couple dates, and you're going to decide whether or not you want to go on a few more. So having a couple one-shots work. That's why most companies, a lot of the new ones, have quick starts. You want to get into Star Trek? There's a quick start guide for that. Basic rules and an adventure. You might, if the group wants to go a little bit further, now get the starter set, because the starter set has 3 full adventures and 3 one-page mission briefs. So that's 6 adventures. That's 7 total adventures. That's before you're in a major campaign. Now they're like, I've played it. I liked it a little bit. I played a little bit more. I'm really starting to like it. I've played it some more and I get it. And now I'm ready to go make my own character. Let's make our own ship. Let's make our own shuttles. Let's do this daggum thing, because they've got that buy-in a little bit at a time. Modifius is the kind of company that writes their games and their quick starts in that where it really leads players. Their quick start is designed to teach the GM as much as it is designed to teach the players. Their starter set, same thing. Even WotC got into that gig finally with the Heroes of the Borderland and the Hellfire Club box sets, where they're teaching the GMs at the same time they're teaching the players. These are great ways to onboard characters. With WotC, I'll even go a step further. Sean Merwin's Goblin Troubles, which was something that kind of works with the Heroes in the Borderland set. I have run that for starting players 5 or 6 times in the last year and a half since that came out. It is one of the best teach brand new people how to play adventures, period. I actually think that single adventure is better than anything in the box set for the very first game. And it's set in the same box set world. So you have the starter set, you have that. Let's say people played a different game and you're trying to teach them 5e. Goblin Troubles by Sean Merwin, followed by Heroes in the Borderland. Do it that way. Perfect. And by the way, Goblin Troubles, free on D&D Beyond. So that is your quick start. Heroes in the Borderland, that is your starter set. That's how you get it done. I'll even go into Everyday Heroes, a 5e supplement. So your players have played D&D 5e. You want to get them into a more modern game. You want to do something like that? Go with Everyday Heroes. Why? Because it's 5e based. So the mechanics aren't going to be the lift. There are just a few rules, things that they got to get used to. Their quick start, Dethrone a Dictator. Perfect. Nice and easy. Teaches you how to run the game. Covers all the basic rules. It's a fun adventure. I've run it virtually. I've run it in person. It's a great time. And I didn't have people who had problems understanding what was going on because they had all had 5e experience. Then you want to go into something else, you can do other things. Heck, on our show, I'm going to be doing a lot more with Everyday Heroes coming up because I had great conversations with the folks at Everyday Heroes. I talked with Sig Trent, one of the primary writers and game designers on the core rules for that. And quite honestly, I have a whole bunch of cool stuff that I just got from one of the Kickstarters I backed, and I'm going to start reviewing and whatnot as well. But honestly, how I'm going to get people into playing that game is very simple. I love me some King Kong and I love me some Kaiju. Well, one of the things that they have in Everyday Heroes happens to be Kong on Skull Island.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah.
if you want to get people to play this new game system, all I got to do is say this. You want to play a game where you get to go to Skull Island and fight some Kaiju? Who says I don't want to fight Kaiju? Who says I don't want to fight? Everybody wants to fight Kaiju.
So that is something that was like not even on my radar yet for this conversation, but that's another really good way to like get the conversation rolling, is like knowing like certain thematic elements that your players are really interested in and having those be a part of what you're going to do. But like harkening back to the idea of starter sets and basic rules and things like that, I'd say within anything made within the past 5 years is probably going to be really, really well done at that kind of thing. Anything past that is going to be a little bit of a coin flip. I think with this latest starter set, D&D like really hit the nail on the head. Like oftentimes, because if you think of this is the way I used to describe it. The very first starter set that came out for 5e was to teach people that knew how to play D&D, how to play 5e. The latest starter set that's come out teaches people who do not know how to play D&D, how to play D&D. And those are two very, very, very different things.
Oh, yeah.
So like looking for that. The other thing that's hyper important, and if you don't find it directly from the company, I trust you, listener, that you have the power of Google, and you're going to need pregens. It's another really, really good thing to just have, because again, you just want to go ahead and shoulder that lift as much as possible, because then just give them pregens. And if they want to scrub the numbers off, this is a little twist on pregens that I like to do. Figure out every piece that doesn't actually matter and make it go away and have the players fill that in. The name doesn't matter. There are elements of that character sheet that aren't important to play, but they are important to narrative, and make sure that those are something that they can attach themselves to. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Okay, you brought it up at some point, but there's another way to like slowly trick them into this idea, and it's one-page games. And so because the lift is so light for both parties, Because if they've never played anything else ever at all, then the idea of another game is huge, because the idea of the first game was huge and all the time, effort and everything. Someone put in the sunk cost. I have 2 business degrees and I don't even want to, this is not a bridge or a can of worms that needs to be opened on me and sunk cost fallacy. But I understand the concept deeply into my soul. So yes, but I run a 1-page game almost every year of one kind or another at a catacon. One that, I mean, it kind of dips into 2 pages, but that, I mean, technically if I did it on front and back, we'd be okay. But Dadlands, a post-apocalyptic world where the only survivors are dads, and they're hunting for the lost remote. It was written by the McElroys, and it's a just hilarious game that is basically either you have law or chaos. And like, that's your stat line. That's your pull. Like that's your pool of things you're using. That's the whole game. And so the other one that I ran recently was Jason Statham's Big Vacation, where basically you have to ensure that Jason Statham has a good time, but he's being hunted by Wesley Sniper. And he's a sniper because then you can never actually do anything about him. He's just always harassing the situation. And you roll you roll a D20 to see where he is. Then you roll a D20 to see what happens. And if he gets too sad, he cries and has a big PR nightmare. And so basically you have to ensure that Jason Statham has a great vacation. And so these are the kind of things that, like, if you need to break as a DM, if you need to break the mold just to like I said, because some people may have never experienced any other game, and none of this has to even actually be about D&D. It could be that you've only ever played Pathfinder so far, or that you've only played, like, you're brand new and you've only played Tales of the Valiant, or you've only played Draw Steel and you want to have them try something new and different. A 1-page rule system is by far and away like that first little hit of like, things can be different, and it's totally okay.
And every new game system you run specifically, but play, will make you a better GM at whatever your primary system is, period.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just find, there's another way to describe a scene, or there's another way to lead into this, or maybe I can use this mechanic for a challenge next time to mix it up a little bit. I'm notorious for Frankensteining different mini systems into any number of games because I just think I need something to not be roll D20. Okay, you're over 15. Like, I love D&D. I love 5.5. I love 5e. But if going through a given act or section of the game is roll this check, roll that check, roll this check, roll that check, that gets old. That's not fun for me as a GM. However, sometimes adding in a complication mechanic that I use in Star Trek because it's part of their core rules can be fun. Sometimes making somebody roll a wisdom check and giving them some kind of stress thing from Free League's Alien works because it makes the horror element of whatever the D&D adventure I'm running better. I don't necessarily want the frightened condition. That to me doesn't do enough. I might do okay, roll this check. Okay, I'm going to give you a counter. What's that for? Don't worry about it. You have a counter because this was a little unnerving. You get 5 of those counters in the course of the adventure. Now I'm going to make you do something like out of Aliens, where you're going to freak out and run, start naked through the quad because you're scared to death of whatever just happened behind you. That's not the fear condition, or it looks like the fear condition, but I don't want it to be a single roll to get there. You're a hero. It takes more than just one event to make you get there. But maybe if somebody does some crazy action, they just, you walk into a village and it's torn. Maybe you get two counters instead of 1 or whatever. I will do weird little mechanics like that. Not all the time, certainly not with new players. But if I'm sitting playing with a bunch of veterans, and I will do something like that to build the tension of the moment if that's the theme I'm going for. So every new system is an opportunity to add to the tools in your GM toolkit.
Yep. GMDM pirates, take, beg, borrow, and steal. Because like, if I think about recently the initiative system from Shadow Dark makes a lot of sense for like a lot of games in general. I think about the torch from Okay. Wherever you're always in initiative, even if you're out of combat, that way, like, play can still kind of have a back and forth and a consistent thing. Like, that way, not everyone's guessing, like, am I taking too much spotlight? Am I not? The torch from Phoenix Dawn Command, which is a deck building system. But if you take the torch, it helps people because every scene you go into, you're writing things down that have a direct mechanical benefit. One of the first, the starter set, the first scene you go into, there's a taxidermied bear where you can basically push it over. And so you add that. You think Blades in the Dark, and I think about the retroactive system where you are, like you said, you're heroes, you plan, you work together. And so I allow, can you, do you incorporate that into D&D, allowing for people to bring things forward?
Yeah. I know a guy.
Yeah. And I think of the narrative stacking element from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where basically, like, you're rolling to see basically whose narrative is coming to the forefront, like, for the next campaign arc. I've used that in my home game. My players don't actually maybe know that, but, like, I keep rolling that to break, like, just kind of arbitrarily have a way to let the dice decide, like, whose narrative I want to kind of just dive into more next.
Yeah.
If nothing else, like, you as the DM, even if you didn't, you did go through the process, you did play the game, and then you're like, you know what? I don't think this is, like, something the whole table will enjoy, but this element I think is really great for my table. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. So one of the other things that got brought up, and I realize we're running just a touch long, so we'll kind of wrap it up with this one is, are there ways that you have simplified systems to be a way that they get introduced to players?
Absolutely. I keep going back to Star Trek, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. One, on our show, we do Star Trek Tuesdays. So that's where we do all of our Star Trek episodes. Our actual play will run on Tuesdays. We're kind of on our season break. We just recorded our Session Zero for season 4 last Saturday. First session, we record this one. So those will start airing in about a month. When we first started 4 years ago with the Star Trek Adventures game, because I struggled with learning new systems and nobody was going to learn the system for me, I did not understand the starship mechanics well at all. I struggled with it. But I had made the commitment to get the show on the on the air, and I had made the commitment to run a monthly game, so I had to get started. There was no ship combat for the entire first season until the very last episode, because it took me that long to understand the basics and run the main game. Because I had a great story, I knew what I was doing from a storytelling perspective. I did have one ringer in the cast who had a lot of STA experience, and that was one. He's a member of our cast. He is a person I had met on one of the Star Trek shows, and I was like, absolutely, let's get him on, because I had run some games here or there at that point. He really helped me understand the rules kind of one session at a time as I was going. But I understood the basics because it's a fairly easy game. There's a couple tricky nuances with the 1E game, which, by the way, have been cleared up. 2E is much better. If you start with 2E,
nice.
Most of the things I had struggles with, I would never have had. So they really did fix the things that hung me up. But the whole first year did not do any starship battles because it was just difficult. And even after that, I only did a couple here or there because I wasn't smooth at them. I didn't feel like if I was playing all in person, I'd have been fine. But because I was doing it for air,
for sure,
I left that out because I wasn't crisp, right? Now I'm pretty good at them. I have no issue with them whatsoever. But they can be hard to teach a little bit. So it is not my go-to. Or I kind of figure out ways to make that work. I usually will build those things with a way to back off. The other thing is, Star Trek has some interesting advancement methodology. I just didn't do it. Every season, I just figured everybody probably would have advanced during this time. I know approximately what would work. And at the end of season 1, we just said, we're going to give you these things because you likely would have come up with them during the course of this year's worth of missions, and did it. Season 2, same thing. When we got into season 3, I was like, I understand the rules enough where we're going to do this part of the advancement rules. So season 3, we did part of the advancement rules. By that point, they had moved into Star Trek 2E. because we started fairly late in 1E's lifespan. It had been out for 7 years or 6 years by the time we started playing. So by the time season 3 came along, we were doing half of the 2E rules. Now we're going into season 4. We're going to be doing all of them. So for me, it's about doing what it takes to play the game and then learning and filtering the things as people were ready.
I will button it up with take a note card and figure out what you can fit on there. And like, that's it. Like, that's all the space I'm going to give you. What did you put on there? Then work off of that. Just let that be the whole set of information that anyone works off of, and then build from there. Like, you know, if you're figuring out like, or the subsystem or the element of the game that you think is the most exciting, if it's combat, if it's social interaction, you know, whatever it is it vehicles? Is it XYZ? Only focus on that one, like you said, for that session. Because one, if it's the most fun, they'll probably want more of it. That's my big piece of advice. I would bring us into homework, but if we're going to be honest with each other, I kind of feel like we gave homework for everyone listening the entire time we talked. So I don't think we need to do much more homework there. So what I will ask instead is, where can people go on this World Wide Web to figure out all the stuff that you're doing?
Well, you can go to www.tabletopjourneys.com. That's our primary website. We have a contact us, which has our link tree, which has everything. But quite honestly, you can go right to YouTube and Tabletop Journeys. If you see the little hexagon with the little gold coins in the bottom corner, that's us. If you're looking at our main page, you'll probably see my shining face all over it, because I like to put myself on the title cards. That's nice. No reason other than that. But yeah, so you can find us there. You can definitely see me at a Catacon every year. You can definitely see me at a whole bunch of other cons. And quite honestly, if you just on Facebook or pretty much any platform, if you type in hashtag call your boys TTJ, it's going to bring up a post that we put up there, because that's us. You want to get hold of us, hashtag call your boys TTJ. We got you. And you can certainly find us on RPG, where we've got all kinds of our products there. We even have a bunch on DM Skill for the things that are IP related. And we are constantly doing Kickstarters. We've got another one coming up later this year. We just finished one up recently, so you can catch us there as well.
Perfect. And you know what? Let's not make it 2 years. How's that sound?
I'm down for that. I think we do this again sometime soon, because you were Hawk, and you're trying to get me to give up the ghost on that 3rd level adventure. But
yeah, we'll wait. But again, if you've listened this far, again, I cannot express enough how amazing it was on the Discord to get that much response for this. So if you do listen to this episode and you have more thoughts and more questions, put them there. And then maybe that's what we do. We come back and we take another run at this. Who knows?
Yeah.
But either way, I promise it will not be 2 years until the next time you're on.
You got it, man. Hey, and thank you, audience, for letting me bust your eardrums for a little bit and cut it up here with my main man, and we'll have some fun. This has been great.
If you want to tell me what your go-to karaoke song is, you can email us at dungeonmasterblock@gmail.com. And of course, we want to thank Lewanika for coming on, spending some time with us. And as I said at the end of their chat, 2.5 years is far too long. So hopefully we will get him on much sooner than that.
Yeah, it was so much fun to meet him at a Catacon and hang out and sing some songs at the top of our lungs. He is the voice of an angel, truly.
And then, of course, if you enjoyed this episode or any of the others, you can head over to Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice and leave a rating and review, because it'll make us sing. You know what? Leave in your rating and review what song you think I should sing next. I really only want to sing one, and it's Tequila, as you heard in the episode. So be kind. Thank you.
I'm still impressed by the timing. I'm still impressed. You can follow the DM's block on all of the social medias, and we may or may not be posting there. The Dungeon Masters block is a proud member of the Block Party Podcast Network. Other shows you can check out on the Block Party Podcast Network include Dungeons and Dragons and Daughters, The Titans of Altera, The Bad Venture Club, Knocked Prone, We're more than our D&D characters, how not to Dungeon Master, and more.
But as always, thanks for listening to the Dungeon Master's Block, the place where we come to talk about the Dungeon Master, the most important person in the game, the only person capable of playing gods,
Killing characters,
and lowering the ego scores of everyone else at the table.
I'm DM Derek.
I'm DM Neal. Good night and good luck. And keep on dungeon mastering.
It's not inspiration, it's not wisdom, and it's bad advice.
Just start changing the rules. Just like a frog in a pot, just slowly boil them into a new system. They'll never know.
Goodbye.